MBA from HEC in Paris, and I ended up joining McKinsey and worked with McKinsey for almost McKinsey and later part in Accenture for almost 6-7 years. Worked across almost 20 plus countries, predominantly on strategy projects. Okay. After I hang my boots, I for the last 6 years I've been working as a career coach, helping just people just like you getting into McKinsey, BCG, Bain, and the top consulting companies. 500 plus people through me have joined this illustrious organization. Coaching is my passion. Uh, really love it. My association with BCG is much more thicker, though I worked with their chief competitor. So when I was interviewing along with McKinsey, I also had BCG offer. So that was my first connect with BCG. Uh, Secondly, hello, can you just mute yourself, guys? Okay. Secondly, while I was getting coached for consulting preparation, one of my chief mentor was also an ex-BCG person. And over the years, a lot of BCG partners and other friends have used my services to coach the candidates. So yeah, good connect with BCG that helps me probably help you to understand what BCG is, how BCG interviews are, and hopefully you will benefit out of today's session. Yeah. So looking forward to have your participation today. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, just maybe to tell you a little bit more about our company and the way how we help people. We help. The mission of our company is to help you to help students, MBAs, young professionals, and experienced hires to break into the leading consulting firms worldwide. And we will follow with you a very structured process on how to get you inside the industry. So we usually start, this process includes 7 steps. They are very simple. In the first 3 steps, we set up the right objectives together with you and create an application roadmap so that we can define what are the companies which are relevant for you, what are the positions, what are the geographies, and what kind of networking do you have there, and we can have there to help you to leverage the connections and receive the interview invites. In the second step, we also help you to polish your documents, CV and cover letter, to make them easily screenable. And of course, in the third one, we help you to expand your own network as well as to leverage our existing network. Because as you might know, after 12 years spent in consulting, we have quite some friends, former colleagues, and we have already helped more than 600 mentees who are today working in the consulting. And all of these connections around the world could be used for your advantage to help you to get your interview calls. So the first 3 steps are basically there to help you to secure your interview invites. And then in parallel, we also start working in terms of preparing you. So today we invite you to our live demonstration. Gaurav and Omar will be simulating final interview rounds where Gaurav will be playing the BCG interviewer and Omar will be playing BCG candidate, who he actually is, because he's also applying for those many firms in the Middle East region. And you will see how those interview simulations are going and how the feedback sessions afterwards looks like. We also kindly encourage you to provide feedback to Omar, to our candidate at the end of the session. So please make your notes, what you like and what you don't like about the performance of Omar, what he might be also improving, because he really need to learn in order to get his offers. And also ask as many questions as you can. We will try to handle most of them. So this is our key support, also to help make you ready for those interviews and help you to successfully pass first, second, and final interview round with every company till that very moment that you get your offers in consulting. And then we don't want to stop there, because we actually want to help you not only to get a job in consulting, but also to become a very successful consultant. Therefore, we have designed also one of the programs which will help you to make ready yourself ready for the first 100 days in consulting, as well as long-term career success, where we can tell you a little bit more about how to manage yourself, how to manage your clients, how to manage your partners and project managers. So basically, those people who are responsible for your long-term career success and your next promotion. And all of this, so as you see, we go hand in hand together with you to help you to not only to receive your offers, but also to become a great consultant. And this is the best deliverable which we can serve to you today. All right, so I also see there are a couple of questions in the chat. So yeah, Lakshya is actually asking, is it possible to build a career into consulting by pursuing online MBA degree? Well, Lakshya, I would definitely recommend you to pursue a degree from one of the leading business schools. And simply an online MBA degree without brand name will not help you that much in that extent. But I'm happy to discuss this question with you and with other members of our team moving forward. Then Ahmed Abu Hamous, also, I have my own interviews coming up. How can I reach you, Andre? Well, now I would basically ask my client managers who are sitting here also, please, could you please share the links with our how you can book the first call with the members of our team. So if you have the interviews lined up, or if you have the interviews, or if you need support for your applications, please reach out to our team, and our client managers are very happy to help you basically to make the first step and give you the first free consultation, so that we can also afterwards touch base on here. So everyone who has an interest in joining consulting industry, like Ahmed Abu Hamous and others, please click on the link which was just shared by Alessa and book the first free call with our client managers here in the chat, and we are very happy to help you. And now I would also like, maybe on the next page, I also want to give you a couple of examples how we help people. So just to give you a very recent example, last month, 7 students from our club have actually started working in consulting with these 4 major firms, with McKinsey, with Bain, with Oliver Wyman, and with Roland Berger, in different offices across Europe, Middle East, and Asia. And uh, every one of them have started to get the salary starting from 50,000 US dollars up to 150,000, depending on their geography and of course on their position. And this is exactly kind of a value which we want to serve you and to deliver to you. So we want you to become a member of a great team in one of the leading consulting firms, which will help you to tackle different industry challenges, to work in several industries, geographies, and functions. Every 3 months, your learning curve will be extremely steep on the one hand. And on the other hand, you will be also surrounded with very bright-minded people with the best talents in your industry, and from whom you could really learn a lot. And last but not least, as you see the salaries, you of course will be starting joining a different standard of living, because you will be starting to earn really a lot, from 50 to 150,000 US dollars, depending on the region and your position. So I think I have now spoken more than a lot, more than enough. So I would like to pass the word to our clients. So yeah, who would like to start? Can you maybe turn on your cameras and microphones and share your experience?
I can share my experience, Andrew.
Yeah, Ahmed, could you maybe
Yeah,
briefly introduce yourself
of
to
course.
others?
Yeah. I'm Ahmed Shamsuddin, and I have recently graduated from Imperial College with a master's in finance and accounting. So, unlike Omar and the other guys who have an engineering background, I have a business background. And with the help of Andre and the team, I'm getting into consulting. Actually, Andre helped me to secure my first interview at EY, and today I had the call with the HR, and it went very well. So I want to talk to you about my experience actually with consulting masters. And I believe that's a great experience so far from two aspects. The first aspect will be due to the value of the coaches, and the second will be due to the value of the team members that are in the company. So I just don't want to stress a lot about the fact that Andre and Gaurav are the best coaches available, not only due to their experiences, but also about the methodology they follow and the way they explain things in a simpler manner, so that we can understand every concept behind anything they are talking about. So what we actually do in the trainings is that even when this is a new concept, new industry, there is always a way to tackle the issues, where you can learn about how not to how not to get stuck. And from the other part of the other experiences, that basically the team members is they are great team members. We are a family, we always practice together, we are a highly motivated people, and we push ourselves to the better. So for example, Omar today is going to be the candidate for today's webinar. However, me, Omar, and Mark, who is not attending today unfortunately, we always practice together, as well with Michael, and we always push ourselves to the better so that we can improve and get the offers. So that was it from my part, and I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ahmed. Anyone else would like to add?
Yes, I would like to add. So mainly Ahmed had an exhaustive description of the experience. So mainly what I'd like to add is that you would get help in every single aspect, like literally from targeting the firms, polishing the documents, networking, cracking cases, the fit part, like everything. And it's not just about professional development, so it's not just problem solving and cracking cases, but it also is about personal development. So, for example, from my side, I still remember the first webinar that I did with Consulting Masters. I was really nervous, like perform in front of a large group of people. But currently, I view this as personal development, and like I look forward to it. So it has helped me to really develop my soft skills from this aspect. And what I like the most, as Ahmed mentioned, that we are a family, we help each other. Not to mention that like the coaching is tailored to your needs. So, for example, if someone has an interview, the coaches would free up as much time as needed in order to make sure that like the candidates are ready. So overall, great experience, and like I do recommend it to anyone who's pursuing a career in consulting.
All right. Thank you very much, Omar, for your kind words. Maybe Thomas, Krudik, Pedro, or anyone else would like to share his or her views before we move on? Right, seems not the case. So therefore, anyway, if you want to know more about our program, you can also speak to our clients, or you can speak to us. Feel free to reach out and to book the first call already today to have a free consultation with Alessia and other members of our team to discuss your specific situation and the way how we can help you to get your offers in consulting. So now let's get it rumble. Okay. So now before we maybe start, let's also speak about the rules. So I would first of all kindly request you to turn on your cameras and your microphones right now, because Omar Harp is going to perform a great thing for you. So he's going to play an interviewer, a candidate. And can we actually cheer him up a little bit and give Omar an applause? So, ladies and gentlemen, can you please cheer him up? Go, 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 Omar.
Omar.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And now let's basically do the following. So I would kindly ask you to turn off your cameras and turn off your microphones and put the chats, put your questions in the chat if you have any. But now, so that Gaurav and Omar have a chance to do a very good interview simulation. And you can observe and learn from them, and please write down your questions into the chat or for later, so that we can also respond to every of your questions after they are done with the interview simulation. And now I will basically wish both of you guys have a good luck, and yeah, see you later on.
Okay, Omar. So welcome to BCG. How are you doing today?
Hi, Gaurav. I'm doing great. What about you?
Yes, I was doing fine. Let's see now how you treat me for the next 1 hour.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hope it's gonna be great.
Great. So I have your CV in front of me, Omar. But why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me here today and for offering me this opportunity. So, I'm a civil engineering AUB graduate with almost 2 years of experience in road infrastructure. Graduated from AUB back in 2019. My years at AUB were great, was listed on the Dean's Honor List several times. I've been an active student, participating in several extracurricular and volunteering activities. From the professional side, I completed 2 technical internships during the summers of my second and my third year, where directly after that, I started a part-time job as a project planner at Malak Trading and Contracting, which is basically a manufacturing and contracting company specialized in road infrastructure. Now, upon graduation, I was offered a full-time opportunity with Malak as a planning and cost control engineer. So currently I'm handling budgeting, scheduling, implementation, and supervision, both at the manufacturing plant and at construction sites. At the meantime, I'm seeking growth opportunities to take the next big step in my career, and mainly this is why I'm interviewing with you today.
Why do you think this is the right time for you to take the next step?
Yes, it is basically the right time, as I think I've gathered good expertise in engineering. So basically, the technical experience that I went through, it didn't just give me a good understanding of infrastructure in specific, but it also taught me how to work professionally, how to work in teams, how to think about problems, how to deal with clients. And I would like to take the next step right now in my career to get back to the steeper learning curve and to learn on a daily basis once again.
Okay. So you got a good grip on infrastructural side of engineering. Yeah. So you come from Lebanon. If you think that you are ready to get into consulting, and you have good knowledge of engineering. So what are the infrastructural challenges that Lebanon is currently facing?
Wow, like that's a case by itself, because Lebanon is facing challenges from every single aspect, not just infrastructure. But basically, the main problem that we are facing right now is that due to the economic crisis, public sector heavy infrastructure projects, which are mainly, let's say, the main aspect of my current role, are really declining because the government is not being able to fund these. And for that, the roads need a lot of maintenance. Like it's really getting bad, and I hope that the situation should get better moving forward. Because if it stays the same for the next 5 or 10 years from now, let's say it's going to be a huge problem.
So I didn't still get the answer. So what are the infrastructural challenges? I only
Okay, so
understood the road part.
exactly. So the infrastructural challenges from in terms of like road infrastructure would be the ones that we mentioned. In addition to that, those would be like on all aspects in terms of the waste network, the sewage, the water utility network, everything related to the internet as well. So it all comes as one package mainly, and the main problem is that there's not enough funding in order to be able to move with those projects in the first place.
Okay. What's your advice, the government in Lebanon? What should they do?
Yeah, like I think the main issue, considering that it is from the funding, would be from the political aspect. So before actually being able to lay out a plan in order to move forward, like the situation is really, really complicated in Lebanon, and there's no like one united body in terms of from the political side in order to be able to make decisions and to go forward with plans. So there's a lot of external factors, and we have to solve it from the political end in order to be able to go and solve it economically before being able to develop and solve those issues.
Okay. So as an infrastructure engineer, do you see this as an opportunity?
From what aspect in specific do you mean?
I mean, the infrastructure needs a lot of investment. I mean, probably in next few years, a lot of infrastructure projects will be taken up. So do you think as an infrastructure engineer, this sector offers a lot of opportunities for the next decade or so?
Exactly. So mainly because there hasn't been much work in the sector for the past 2 years, it has been declining. So like moving forward, there's going to be a lot of demand, and until the problem is solved, to be able to start with those actually like improvements, there's going to be definitely a lot of investment and huge opportunities in order to go up and improve that sector again.
Then why are you looking for consulting?
Well, I am looking for consulting for three main reasons. First of all, would be that I want to have a faster paced career with rapid advancement, the never ending learning curve. So, mainly in consulting, each engagement is different. Each client will present a unique and different challenge to be solved. And I know that this is going to provide me with the wider exposure that I am seeking. Second, I'm the type of person who really loves working in teams. Like I enjoy that. I value
What is the
teamwork.
relationship between the faster growth and the variety or unlimited learning curve? Didn't get that.
Okay, the faster growth from my development.
Yeah, you said you would like to start with consulting because of faster growth, and then you jumped onto another point, which is never-ending learning curve, right? So what's the relation
Yes, so
between the two?
basically, I believe that a fast learning curve would actually lead to faster growth, and exposure to different types of industries, different types of projects, different problems would also be something that would lead to faster growth in terms of my development.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but some of the experience that I have had suggests that if you have the, the diverse experiences, yeah, sometimes the growth takes time. A singular sectorial growth or exposure can give you a faster growth. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree on that. It would give you a faster growth, but you would be focusing that growth in that area. So I do prefer that if I'm having slower growth in like a wide variety of areas, it would like help me improve more, diversify my experience, and maybe like in 5 or 10 years, I would know what I'm really good at, what I really like to do, and until then, I might specialize in a certain area to continue my career.
Okay. So diversity of exposure is what you are seeking. Okay. What else?
Exactly, yeah. Well, what else? As I mentioned, I enjoy working in a team environment, and a consulting team environment would mean that I would be challenged by mentors, such as yourself, of course, and I would be supported by my team members at work. And in addition to that, which would be my third reason, would be my passion for problem solving, like the whole process in general, from where you identify the problem, isolate it, scope it out, break it down, get the data to tackle each of those elements at once, to finally grab your insights, lay out the strategy, and be able to have the high level impact that I'm looking for. So for those reasons, I really believe that consulting would be the ideal career path for my background, my competencies, and my passion as well.
Okay. And why BCG?
Yes. So thank you for this question. And there's mainly three reasons on why BCG in specific. So first of all, BCG is a top-tier consulting firm with wide exposure to geographical areas, with capabilities across several practices, and this will provide me with the exposure that I'm looking for, which we talked about earlier. Second of all, BCG is a leader in innovation with the highly analytical and the out-of-the-box focus. And like this really inspires me, especially the forward-looking approach that the firm has, like towards environment and sustainability in particular. Third of all would be the fact that the firm invests a lot in their employees. As like I've had several coffee chats with consultants at BCG, with friends that I know at the firm, and they all stressed on this aspect. In fact, one of my friends who have recently joined BCG in the Middle East actually described the onboarding and the training process as him being in safe hands, being on a launch pad, and just getting ready to like be assigned and have the impact and add value to the firm and to the clients. And those reasons really make me believe that BCG would be a great opportunity to take the big step in my career and to make the impact that actually matters in the region.
What if BCG doesn't happen?
What if?
What if this BCG doesn't happen?
Well, I hope it does, first of all. Like, this might not be really smart, but really BCG is my first and my only option. And like, I'm trying my best to actually secure this, and I hope that I will be able to do it and have the impact that we're talking about.
Okay. Okay. So, can you tell me, Omar, an instance in your life where you felt that you really came up with a very creative solution?
Well, yeah, thank you for that. It's an interesting question. So, as a cost control engineer at Mallag, at my current role, I created a model that eliminated a lot of the uncertainty that came with the economic crisis that the country has been going through. So, with the start of the economic crisis, what was happening is that the currency was being decreasing in value compared to the USD rate, and this created a lot of uncertainty along the supply chain. So mainly, costs of material was changing on a daily basis, and like each material was changing in a different proportion compared to that of the USD. So you can imagine how that made the work complicated, and actually a lot of local firms had to shut down temporarily or completely in certain situations. Now, what I did was that I created a model considering that I'm responsible for the cost structure of all the products at the firm. So mainly this model would take the daily exchange rate into account, and it would alter the cost structure of every product and every service that we provide at the firm. And it would reflect that on the profit margins and on the prices as well. In addition to this, and this was actually with the help of the accounting department at the firm, I was able to incorporate a cash flux budget to that model so that we would be able to account for the collectability of our receivables from the clients.
So where is the creativity part, Omar, in this?
Yes, so the creativity part would be being able to actually like identifying a method where you can get that variable, just the exchange rate, and actually look into the impact that it has on every single product that we have using benchmarking for historical trends that were happening so that I can figure out a very rough estimation in order to ease work, to reduce like the time and the effort needed. And the most important aspect of this would be, from my opinion, is that we were able to build clients in the most fair manner possible. Because during the past period, there was like a lot of problems in terms of that, and like a lot of companies were taking advantage of the situation in order to make
Why do you
more
think
profit.
this is a creative way? What would have been the other or typical way of doing it? A
The typical
non-creative way?
way, yeah, so what was actually happening in the market, if I want to compare to competition, for example, so when like the exchange rate was fluctuating, so in certain days it was fluctuating a lot, so companies would just shut down and wait for like the exchange rate to become stable again, or they would actually price at very high rates in order to protect themselves from the rate decreasing again. And I think that like there should be a solution for this. And considering that as a cost control engineer, I'm responsible for the cost structure as mentioned, I was able to come up with this solution.
Okay. Okay. What was the learning out of this?
Well, the learning from this would be that like no matter how a situation is complicated, the most important part is knowing the impact that this can have, because this what would actually drive you to think creatively and look for the solution. So identifying the impact first would push you forward, and then thinking about the root of the problem and solving the problem from there in specific, which is mainly something really important of consulting. And I believe this is what all the industry actually evolves, like revolves around.
Okay. Okay. What if you're, let's say, in the same example, I would like to understand. So you created a model which will fluctuate or which will take the currency fluctuation and apply on everything like all the costings, right? And the other firms you are saying the inflation increase, they used to shut down on those days, or some firms were like keeping the rate so high that they are covered through the inflation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I mean, what if isn't it's more profitable to keep the rate at a ceiling so that you are always profitable?
Well, it is always profitable, yes, but I don't believe it would be ethical in the first place. And second of all, even if we ignore actually the ethical side from this, it would actually affect our brand, and it would lead at the end of the day of us losing clients. So it can make more profits on the short term, but it wouldn't be the right approach to implement on the long term and from an ethical perspective.
Okay, good point. Okay. Omar, tell me one weakness of yours.
Thank you for asking about that. So mainly one of like the weaknesses that I have, which I realized through my work with peers and with colleagues, whether at university or at my current role, would be that I get affected by the surrounding work environment. So mainly if everyone around me is enthusiastic, positive, productive, this really brings out the best in me as I thrive on those conditions. But if not, I feel upset and annoyed that like I am just like trying the best that I can while everyone around me isn't, and in certain situations they would be negative. So I felt that this was affecting my efficiency and my productivity at work. But I've been working on this, and actually, whenever I'm in such an environment, I always try to be the one who stands up, drives, and motivates the team instead of being affected by the environment. Because I really believe that if no one takes this stand, it's going to have a negative impact over the whole surrounding.
Okay. Okay. How would you coach people who you think would have a similar weakness?
Hmm, interesting question. Uh, Thank you for that. So basically, from what happened from my personal experience, would
Mm.
be that I knew the impact that this was having, like should be tackled, and it shouldn't be this way. And if we, that's from an individual perspective, and if we look at it from like a higher point of view, we can see that not only would it affect a certain individual, but it's actually an effect that would jump from one person to another. So by understanding what this have, the first point someone can do is like try to motivate the other people. Like why are you negative or not doing the best that you can? And actually, by your actions and your work and your positive energy, you will be able to motivate them, and it will just reflect back, because when you motivate them they would motivate you as well, and it would end up like having a positive impact over the whole surrounding.
Mm. Okay. Okay, good. So, what do you think about starting a case?
Yes, I would love to start a case.
Okay, good. Here is the problem statement. Okay, your client is a leading automobile manufacturer in Germany, and he is considering entering into car leasing market.
Mm,
And client has hired you to analyze whether it's a good idea.
nice. Thank you for this interesting case, first of all. So, our client is a manufacturer of cars. They want to enter the car leasing market, and they want our advice on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, Gaurav, when we say an automobile manufacturer, so basically, uh, it's in Germany, so it's similar to BMW, Mercedes, whatever. So they just
You can
manufacture
consider
cars.
this like a Mercedes or damn Daimler. Yeah,
Nice, that's
for
nice.
the sake of
So
simplicity. Yeah.
basically, our client is Mercedes. They
Mhm.
manufacture car and they sell them to customers. So basically, that is their main revenue stream. In addition to things regarding, let's say, maintenance and other things, right?
Yeah, I mean, you mean servicing, right? So yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Sales
Great.
and servicing are the revenue streams.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Now, when we say the car leasing market, would it be car rental? Is that what this means?
Mm. It's car leasing. So
Hmm.
it's basically leasing and renting is different, right? So
Hmm.
leasing it basically it's like a long-term renting.
Hmm.
So you don't have to buy the car, you lease the car for let's say 3 years, 5 years, like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. Okay. And what would basically be so the business model out of this? So let's say I would lease a new car, like I would handle everything regarding that, and then I would return it to the company. So what happens when I actually return it to the company? What does our client do with that?
Okay, so you have no idea about car leasing market looks like. So I'll
Hmm.
give you a little bit of background. So basically, what happens in the car leasing market is instead of you having to buy the car, you lease the car from the manufacturer or from any leasing players. Yeah, in fact, not manufacturers have recently started coming into it globally, but normally there are leasing players available in the market. Okay, so you lease from them so that you don't have to pay a capex, a big amount of money. Rather than that, every month or at a certain agreed interval, you pay the in the installment for your usage. Yeah, and on on your behalf, yeah, these leasing company will take care of the car in terms of their annual maintenance, etc. So you don't have to worry about maintenance. You worry about the fuel, and you just pay a monthly or quarterly premium or installment.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. So mainly the car can be leased to several individuals on the course of its lifetime, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Okay.
new car, and as the lease deal ends, when the car comes back, yeah, you can
Okay.
also lease it to other people.
Great. Great. And what would be our client's target from this entry or this venture?
Okay, so I'll tell you what's happening. Okay, so what's happening is over the last 3 to 5 years, the car sales have reduced. Okay,
Mm,
so we can clearly see that our sales have come down by 10%. Okay, over the last 3 years. The intention is to boost the sales or boost that outlay. Yeah, currently, what is happening is we are manufacturing cars, but not getting sold as much.
mm,
So we
mm,
are
mm.
trying to find out another channel to kind of make use of our cars.
Okay. Okay. So basically, if we want to look at the financial targets of our client, it would be that they want to cover the 10% that they are losing in terms of car sales, right?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Great. Thank you for that, Gaurav. So, unless you have any specific questions, I'd like to take a moment to structure my thoughts.
Sure.
Great. Okay. Thank you for your patience, Gaurav. So basically, in order to better advise our client, I have divided my analysis into three main buckets. Those would be market attractiveness, financials, and feasibility. So mainly my hypothesis here would be that our client should go for this if the market is attractive, if it is financially justified, and if it is feasible. Starting with the market attractiveness, I want to have a look basically at the size of the market, the trends, its growth rates, who are the
Can
key
you speak a
players.
little bit slowly, Omar? I'm losing you.
Yeah. So
Speaking too fast.
great. So with the market attractiveness, first of all, I would like to investigate the size of the market, its trends in terms of, let's say, the growth rates, and I would like to analyze the competitive landscape. So who are the players in the market? How is the share distributed? And how are they different in order to be able to estimate our expected market share? Now, once we have that expected market share, I would move to the second bucket, which is the financials. Under the financials, here I would mainly like to look at the revenues without taking the cost into account at this point in time, because basically this is our client's objective. So what I would like to look at here is actually, first of all, how much we would generate from leasing. So basically our expected market share and the prices. And then I would want to look at the impact that this is going to have on our car sales, because if we can offer someone to lease a new car, they won't actually buy a new car. So this should be taken into account. Now, at the end of this analysis, I would compare this to the 10% drop in sales that we have been having in order to see if this achieves our client's target. Third, I would want to look at the feasibility aspect of this in terms of the operational feasibility. What experience does our client have in the leasing business in terms of the strategic alignment, and that would be the cannibalization of our sales. And maybe that can be positive actually, because if we're offering people the chance to lease those cars, they might actually buy another car in the future. And third, I would want to have a quick look on the financial feasibility in terms of costs that are associated, so that we might not end as with a profit loss from this venture. But let's currently focus on our client's target to see if we would be able to achieve that. So does that sound reasonable for you?
Very good. Where would you like to start with?
I would like to start with the market, unless you would suggest otherwise on that.
No, in fact, I would love to understand how would you do the market sizing for the leasing car market in Germany.
Yes, definitely. So first of all, shall we estimate that in, let's say, number of contracts or car leased per year, or do we know, let's say, the pricing so that we can go for the value of the market size and dollar value, for example?
Currently, you can, even if you can come up with number of people who annually lease the car, yeah, even that is a good idea, or number of cars that get leased yearly, even that is a good number.
People leasing in Germany. Okay, fair enough. Now, here, just before diving in, I just like to tackle this from a demand side, because I think it will be more accurate for us. So how many people actually are interested in leasing a car and who can? So does that sound reasonable?
Absolutely.
Great.
Please.
Let me just take a moment in order to dive into this. But yeah, I do have one question, if that's okay, before going into it. So basically, since I'm not familiar with leasing cars, and it's not a trend in the region where I come from, so basically I'm thinking about who actually would lease a car instead of buying one. Is it
you think about it?
Okay.
You understood the concept of leasing, right?
Yes. Yes.
What is happening is you are avoiding that upfront payment burden, yeah, and instead of that, you are converting that into a monthly payment or a kind of a periodic payment.
Okay, great, Gaurav. So let me just take a moment in order to go into it.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, Gaurav. So basically, in order to tackle this, I would like to start with the German population, then look into an age distribution on this, because there are people from an age perspective who are not allowed to drive a car. Then look out of those who can drive a car, who actually have a license to drive. Then who out of those would drive a car or actually use public transport, because I know that is something that people usually do in Germany. Then out of those who would be interested in leasing a car, and how I would do that would be based on income levels, because they would be relieved from the upfront payment. But I would like to add a certain percentage on that after moving forward, because to account for the people who would just enjoy changing a car every once in a while instead of buying a new car and then leaving it with them. And finally, I would look into the replacement rate of leasing. For example, what would be the average duration of a lease, and from there we would be able to calculate the number of people leasing per year. Does that make sense, or do you think there's anything that we should adjust from this perspective?
You have covered more or less, but I think the devil lies in the details. So let's see how you come up with the numbers. Yeah. If you know Germany's population, start putting in numbers. Let me see how logically you're putting the numbers together.
Great. So shall we assume that it is 60 million, the German population? Great. So starting with 60 million, we can assume a uniform distribution of age, and an average expectancy of, let's say, 80. Does that make sense? Okay, 80. So basically, what I'd like to look into, the age for acquiring a driving license in Germany, is it 16 or is it 18?
18.
18, great. So those 18 years are out of the equation. In addition, till what age is someone allowed to drive? Because I know that in certain countries, when someone gets really old, like their license would get
Just for the sake of simplicity, let's take the driving age from 20 to 50. Okay.
20 to 50.
Yeah. I'm just trying
Okay.
to, or let's take it 20 to 60. That's, I think,
Great.
even better.
Great. 20 till 60. Those are 40 years, which is mainly half of the population. Thus, we
Right.
ended up with 30 million. Now, out of those, I would like to look at how many have a driving license. So mainly, if I want to look at my surrounding in Lebanon, basically out of the people I know who are like in the age that would allow them to drive, like around, let's say 3 in 10 does not have a driving license, or even 4 in 10. So can we, shall we use the same assumption, or is it a bit different in Germany?
In Germany, I think I would expect the ratio to be much higher than that.
Okay, so shall we go for like 5 who out of 10, 50% have a driving license? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, or I would say even higher. Let's say 70%.
70 do have or do not have?
Do have.
Do have 70%. Okay, great. So 70% do have, and in that way it would be actually 21 million from the 30. Now, out of those who have a driving license, I know that some of them might be more into public transport, even if they do have the license.
Let's say 10 million people would like to buy cars or would like to have cars.
Okay,
Let's
10
get into
million
the
would,
logic for leasing versus buying.
okay,
What's the
10
logic that you
million
want to use there? Yeah.
can have car. So basically, what I would like to look into here is this, like breaking those down into income levels. So basically, I would break them into high income, into medium income, and into low income. So mainly then out of those, I would take percentages for those who would be interested in each of those categories, because it would be dependent on that. So mainly in the low income, I think that a lot of people would be interested, but actually can't do it because if they like, they would rely on public transport instead of that. So shall we assume in the low income that, let's say, 10% can actually lease a car?
Would income be the criteria?
Okay, so mainly
We have
since
an option of buying versus leasing, right? Now, either people will buy the car or lease the car. So on what basis are you selecting those who are more likely to lease versus buy?
Okay, great. So I'm looking in that people who can't buy would actually, like a percentage of those would lease. And after doing that, I would bump that number up a bit just for the people who enjoy leasing cars instead of buying.
Can't buy means what financially?
Sorry, I did not get you there.
Can't buy is what? Financially, they can't buy?
Yes, exactly.
But they can, I mean, need not be the case. No, they will take the loans from the bank and pay the bank's installment. So would that be so whether they can afford that car, would that be the factor?
It can be one, but we can look into, like, I see the point. I agree with you that it might not be accurate enough. So in terms of leasing, now we're looking at the German population. So shall we look at people who are actually, let's say, living in Germany for a short while and they're then leaving, or they would just come?
Absolutely. So that is one factor. So those who basically would probably not stay at one place for a long time. What else?
Exactly. So temporary residence from one aspect. From a second aspect, I know Germany is a large country, so mainly people who would live in different cities like for periods of time. That would fall under the same aspect. And then we can look into people who actually, and I think those would fall in the high income. There might be some of them in the high and medium who would just like to do it. Like, they like to change their car every 2 or 3 years. So instead of buying one, this would be a better option for them.
Okay, so someone who would like to change the car often, yeah, though
Yes.
not changing the location, but yeah. Mhm.
Mm, mm.
What
Okay.
else?
Um, okay, so we can also look actually into like from the business side. So basically, if I own a company, instead of actually
Mhm.
buying a fleet of cars for my employees, I can actually lease those, and in that way, I would have less costs as well. But that
Mm,
won't fall under like going from a population aspect here.
mm. Yeah, I wouldn't go there.
Mm, mm, okay. So just to take a step back and look at so what we've mentioned that when we go for leasing, we won't need that upfront payment and we would able to pay on a monthly basis, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what we can do is actually look into the people who won't have like the upfront payment, so from an income perspective, and then look like exclude from those people who would take a loan. So basically we would be able to focus on those who wouldn't be interested or actually can't even take a loan, and from there we can look into those who would be interested in leasing a car.
Mm. Okay.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
It's, I think, I mean, we are probably making it too complicated. Um,
Mm,
we don't need to go in that direction. Okay, so let's quickly go forward. Yeah, Omar. Let's say we have a number that
okay.
that that is a market size. Pick a number. What's the number that you want to put as the leasing car number?
Okay, so we can benchmark to, let's say, maybe other countries and take it from
Mhm.
there.
Absolutely, why not? So let's say you benchmarked it with a similar size country, let's say France, okay,
Okay. Yeah.
and you came up with a number of, let's say, 500,000, okay.
Okay.
So 500,000 cars is a leasing market. Hmm?
Okay.
What else? How do you want to take it forward?
Great. So those 500,000 cars. So now, are those 500,000 cars or 500,000 people who would be interested in leasing?
So every year, let's say 500,000 people get into car leasing. Let's put it this way.
Okay. Okay. Great. So now that we actually have the number of cars that are leased per year, so
Mhm.
mainly this is our market size. What we have to look into next to determine the dollar value is what would be the price charged per year, so of the contract, in order to determine that in dollar value. And then we can see how attractive the market is financially overall as size. And from there, we can take it to the next step, going back to my structure. Does that make sense?
Okay, so basically from a car company perspective, yeah, it's
Mm,
you are now comparing it with sales versus leasing, right? We said that 10% of our sales went down. Okay,
mm.
so as a result of that, whatever profitability we would have compromised, we should be able to get at least that much out of the leasing business.
Okay, so we can take it from the opposite and basically calculate how much we actually need to capture from the market in order to cover up those 10%. And we
Mhm.
can see if that's feasible or not,
Right, absolutely.
right?
So that's that's the way to do it. Yeah, I don't have any numbers, so let's. I would probably not ask you to go there. Okay,
Mm,
you made interesting point from a feasibility perspective. Okay, let's
mm,
say that from a perspective of the financials, this looks like to be a good case. So from a
okay.
financial perspective, you are sure that probably Mercedes should get into leasing. Okay.
Mm,
What are
mm.
the non-financial concerns that you would like to raise?
Okay, great. So Yes, let me take a moment in order to look into this. Would that be
Yeah.
okay? Or we can just go back to my structure and like, discuss
Mhm.
what we had before.
Sure, please.
Okay, so basically, what we had first of all is an aspect to look into would be the operational aspect. So Mercedes have always been about manufacturing and selling cars, and they are like a top brand in there.
Mhm.
So basically, they would need the expertise required in order to be able to get this done. Second, we would have to look at the brand image of Mercedes and how would that affect it. Like it has always been into this and changing
Mhm.
into leasing, it might hurt that brand. So we should look into how this can be introduced in terms of the marketing aspect, in terms of everything related to that. So the entry strategy mainly. Then I would like to look at how would this align with like the strategic side. How would it align with our car sales? So
Mhm.
as I've mentioned before, there can be two impacts of this. Either it's going to affect our car sales because we are going to like people would lease the cars instead of buying them, or it can actually have a positive impact as people can try those cars for a year and like
Mhm.
they would like them. Of course, it's a Mercedes at the end of the day, and they would buy them later. Now, what we should look into here is actually the pricing strategy that we should go for in order to find that right balance to like guarantee that we are having the positive impact from this aspect instead of the negative one.
Mm. Okay. Okay, good. So why don't you take a couple of minutes, Omar, and come back with your case summary?
Yes, sure. Uh, Let me just take a moment then.
Sure.
Okay, thank you for your patience, Gaurav. So after analyzing our client situation and the car leasing market, we recommend that you enter that market for the main reason, and that is it would cover the 10% decline in sales that we've had previously.
Mhm.
However, to further solidify this recommendation and moving forward, I would like to investigate the profitability aspect of this venture from the cost side in order to determine the return on this investment. And I would like to investigate it from a feasibility side in terms of the operational and strategic feasibility in order to make sure that we would mitigate the negative aspects and we would maximize the benefits that Mercedes can bring from this venture. Do you have any questions on that?
No, thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I do have a question for you if the time allows. So basically, I noticed from your LinkedIn profile that you have worked at other firms prior to joining BCG. So I would like to know what was the differentiation factor from someone on the inside? Like what did you find at BCG that actually isn't found at any other firm that you worked at?
I think the biggest differentiating factor that BCG that you will
Mm,
find is the freedom, okay, to derive a creative solution. Okay. I
mm,
think most of the leading consulting companies are good at giving exposure and very good at developing your problem solving skill. But BCG especially is known for its entrepreneurial culture. It's
mm,
it's culture where you are given freedom to kind of derive and structure the problem creatively. Yeah. I mean, even if it means we are not like completely to the T driven by the structuring principles. Yeah, the creativity is given a lot of importance. That is one.
mm,
And secondly, I still feel that though it's a very big firm, it has a small firm culture. So
mm.
even from a culture perspective, I really respect BCG.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Gaurav. And may I ask, what would be something that you would change at the firm if you actually can, that you would like to see different, for example?
Hmm, nothing that comes to my mind. If I come up with something, I'll give you a call.
Mm. Okay, great. Great. Thank you so much, Gaurav. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I will get back to you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Okay.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the next Q&A session? But before we jump into that, let's congratulate Omar and Gaurav for performing a really good interview, the BCG final round. So, Omar, I think you have deserved our applause. So, can I ask everyone participant to basically turn on the cameras and cheer Omar up?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Well done, Omar. But what do you think about your own performance?
Well, yeah. So, okay, starting with the fit part of the interview, I think it went well, and the most of it, like I was able to keep my calm, although there was a lot of probing. Like I was never probed this much in any practice interview or any like session before. I think I managed to like just roll with the punches before getting into the case. From the case aspect, I think it was going well, but I feel that the main issue here that I wasn't familiar with the car leasing, and like I still quite I feel that I did not understand the concept 100% because I wasn't able to identify the attributes that would come with someone who would actually lease a car. And I think that was the negative aspect of the case. Um, but other than that, I think like the other things went well. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to like your feedback and everyone else as well.
Okay. All right. What would you like to improve moving forward?
Mm. Well, I'd like to improve is actually when I get cornered like in a certain exercise like this one, and I'm not able to actually identify what the interviewer wants me to identify. Like, how should someone think or approach the problem? Now, like I wasn't expecting that I could be calm in such a situation. Like, I thought that I might, let's say, break down or get a bit pissed off from not being able to identify that. So I think that went well. But how should someone tackle this and approach it? How like the thinking process should be?
Okay, we will just come shortly to that. And I think what is also would be very valuable throughout them for our participants is, can you maybe, Omar, explain what was your thinking process like throughout the entire interview, starting with the introduction, personal fit part, then stories, probing. So what was going on in your head when you went through all the interviews so that other participants can also learn from your experience?
Okay, so in terms of the fit part to start with, uh, so basically I don't remember all the questions as there was a lot with a lot of probing, but mainly like the thing I was thinking, I knew that the interviewer is trying to pressure me, like even asking me about the same thing twice or three times. So from that aspect, sometimes I felt that I may not be actually approaching the question as the interviewer wanted, but like I tried to just keep on thinking where does he want me to go in order to tackle that the answer directly. Now, in terms of the case part, so first of all, from the prompt, I had to understand the car leasing market, first of all. So when you don't understand something, you have to ask about it. So I know that if I didn't ask this much questions, I think that I won't be even able to do that performance. Like even with asking this, I couldn't identify the attribute. So if you don't know something, you have to ask about it. Then I wanted to know what's the target of our client in order to tailor my approach according to that. So basically, they wanted to cover 10% of the sales. So mainly it was financial, and for that we would have to analyze the whole market, how much we would be able to pick up, and then look into like what would be the financial aspect, just in terms of revenues, because that's their target. Now, after moving forward through it, Gaurav tried to take me into another path, which I was able to identify. So actually start from the opposite. So instead of calculating how much we would be able to generate and then comparing that with our target, so calculate how much should we actually sell to be able to achieve that target, and from there see if it is feasible. From the market sizing approach, I think like going down until identifying who would drive a car would be the first part of the approach. So basically, we're talking about leasing a car, someone should be able to drive it first. And after that, identifying the attributes of who would be interested in leasing. And at the end would be a replacement rate. So basically, after determining the number of cars and assuming that it is financially feasible, looking into other aspects, you should try to think at what would be the main things that you would look at when going for a new venture. And from that, I was able to identify the operational aspect in terms of experience, in addition to the strategic alignment, which I think was something like if I didn't actually identify, it would be a negative point, and I think that like it would actually prevent me 100% from going to the next round. Although I'm not really sure about that, and yeah, that's basically it from my thinking process.
Hmm. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Gaurav, how do you think? How did it go?
I think not that great, I would say. Uh, the fit, he stayed with me on the fit, very enthusiastic and very charming Umar. And he tried answering everything. But I just felt a couple of things could have been better. One is right at the start, the infrastructure challenge question when I threw at him, he was all over the place. He was not top down at all. That should be um, like very tight. Yeah, it has to be top down. Secondly, what if BCG does not work out? Yeah, it was a pressure question. Yeah, and you answered like BCG is my only option. So this is like very um, either you are trying to impress me, or you have no idea with the idea in terms of you should not be keeping all the eggs in the same bucket. Yeah, in either way, it's not a right answer. You can always say you are my primary kind of target, but of course I have other companies that I would also consider if BCG doesn't happen from that perspective. Okay, so BCG or nothing, kind of, it's very aggressive. I don't know whether people will find it charming or not. Yeah, mostly not. So that's that. On the leasing, no, on the case, I felt that you did not spend enough time in the clarification, given that you had no clue about the leasing industry or how leasing happens. Yeah, I was expecting that you will clarify things better. Yeah, you asked me about the success criteria, but again, you did not probe. Yeah, when I say that they want to kind of counter that 10% drop in sales, so what does that mean exactly? You did not translate that into your success criteria, right? So what should have happened is over there itself, you should have, kind of chased me to, and we should have come to the conclusion that the 10% sales is going down. Yeah, as a result, they are losing money, or there's a loss of profitability, and that is something that they want to recoup out of the leasing model, right? Which means you need to identify, yeah, what does a leasing model give a particular company? Yeah, in sales, our normal model is simple, right? You do the sales, you make money out of the sales, and on the life of a car, you make money out of the servicing. So that NPV will give the company what a company make on a sale of a car. Compare that with what the company makes on a lease of a car. Yeah, so that comparison, leasing versus sales, has to happen somewhere. Okay, and another factor which you probably you missed out because of not knowing the industry, but you kept on talking about the money aspect. People, whether they don't have money, then they will lease. Yeah, so that doesn't normally happen. It's not about money, because in fact leasing comes out to be a more expensive to you. Yeah, it's about, typically young people who want to change the cars, or those who don't want to commit for a long term to one car. These guys go for leasing, or companies typically who do not want the entire asset on their balance sheet. They might come up with car leasing, kind of programs for their employees. So these are the customers for leasing cars. Yeah, it has nothing to do with whether you have money or not, because if you don't have money, then you anyways don't deserve that car, either by leasing or by buying. Okay, so it's not about money. It's about the shorter commitment, or being asset light. Yeah, so that crux of the case you never got. Okay.
Yeah. So Gaurav,
yeah, couple of
I do
more things.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but you were talking very fast while you were explaining me the issue tree, and one more time, I think in the analysis, you were trying to speak so fast that I couldn't get some of your words. I don't know, was it because of the excitement or what, but it was just too fast. So don't use the strategy of, if you can't convince, then confuse. Okay, because if you confuse the interviewer, it's not going to work.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. There is also one more feedback from Ahmad Shamsuddin. So Umar's market sizing approach could have been communicated better. He could filter the number of cars leased from one replacement market out of those who are currently leasing. When will the contract expire and renew? And secondly, growth markets, new people leasing new cars. Yeah. There's also some other feedback. All right, cool. Anything else to add to this? If not, then I would suggest to start with a Q&A session to give the participants the chance to ask their questions. So in one of the questions from another Omar Kurni is, how much should the leasing manufacturer spend on advertising this leasing decision? Considering its leasing manufacturer, it must have a higher cost bearing ability. Can this be taken into account?
It can be taken into account, but it is basically it's basically part of that business case. So marketing, I mean, where to spend the budget is a completely different call. So over here, I think in this case, it's not going to be that relevant.
Okay, then the next following comments like Oliver El Houri, Yoma El Said, Ahmed Abu Hamous, Karim Aridi, they say to you, Omar, great work, great job, Omar, great job, outstanding, great job, Omar. Yeah. Ahmad Shamsuddin, of course, outstanding performance, Omar, but now you really know that you need to improve. All right,
Definitely.
cool. Yeah. Okay. Then another question from Omar Kurni is also, can manufacturer partner up with a particular bank or banks to introduce a consumer budget friendly scheme to increase sales?
Yes, but that is not the scope of the case. Of course, there are 100 other things that can be done to increase the sales, but the interviewer is asking you to specifically look into an initiative where the company is trying to enter into lease market. Yeah, so your suggestion might be right, but it is out of scope.
Okay, sounds great. So Oliver El Houri has a tip for you, Omar. So next time when you're asked about like BCG or not BCG, or to BCG or to not BCG, you can actually say, next time try saying because they are best CG. So, I'm pretty sure this is quite relevant for you. All right. Then another comment from Lakshya Prasad. Gaurav, could you explain the 10% sales? Just a moment, is just jump up. Can you please explain the 10% sales question again?
Okay, so the question is about, or it's not a question, it basically came out in the clarification discussion that the company sales have come down by 10%. Yeah, and as a result of that, they are trying to rebound and get back whatever they have lost. So how it translates into this case is we have lost 10%. Yeah, and at a company level, what we need to look at is, because of that 10% loss, how much are we losing in terms of the bottom line? And if we are going for the leasing business, will we be able to recoup, or will we be able to get that bottom line back? Yeah, so this is where I wanted Umar or any candidate to take me, to make it like a bottom line case and not the top line case.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Then Ahmed Shamsuddin, for clarifying questions, Omar could have asked about if there is any particular car they want to lease, so that you can understand which segment they're pursuing, like SUV, sports, sedan, or all of them.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been the question, no doubt, but I would have quickly shut that down to make it like any average vehicle. I didn't want to get into segmentation. Neither I had data of that. So it's a fair question. If a candidate asks, I will answer them that consider a car and don't get into segmentation. But it's a fair question. It wouldn't have helped though in this case.
Okay, I still have one more question. So if you want to ask any questions, please hurry up and put this into the chat. Otherwise, we will proceed with sharing the bonus materials after answering this question. So there was a question from Lakshya Prasad. How to choose what assumptions to choose while solving a particular case, Gaurav?
Okay. So there is a standard. There are certain things that are like a standard clarification question. So you need to know the product or the service. You need to know a little bit about market, and you also need to know success criteria that the client has in mind. These are the things that you should be keeping in mind, almost like a checklist. But then, of course, then there are very issue specific questions, or whether it's a product case versus service case, whether it's a market entry versus its M&A. So all these nitty-gritties are there, which will add or subtract different types of clarification questions. Yeah? We will not be able to cover it in this, but we do cover some of these things in our coaching.
Okay, then Gaurav, maybe just to make an example, a specific example. So there is a question from Yassin Hamid. What kind of clarifying questions he could have asked? So maybe just specifically to that case.
Yeah, I mean, the simple question could have been selling versus leasing in terms of the operating model, how would it work for an auto manufacturer? As simple as that.
All right, sounds good. Then another question comes from Vivek Moody. Hello, mentors. What strategy and, if possible, any material you would suggest to brush up math skills for someone who has not been doing mental math for years?
Depends on how many years. Okay, no, good. Jokes apart. So yeah, I think we should be able to. We will probably have to understand where do you stand in terms of the mental math, and then only it's a good idea to suggest something. Yeah, because I think consulting cases need like heavy degree of math is a myth. You really need to identify. There are only two criteria basically. One is accuracy, and then ability to make efficient equations. As long as you are doing that, you are good actually. Yeah. So we need to test you where you stand, and then happy to recommend few resources.
All right, sounds good. Then the next question comes from Tony. Hello. So when should we size the market from the supply side?
Not in this case, especially. So there are there are cases which needs to be solved from the supply side, but over those are typically these are the cases where we are talking about some supply side constraints like capacity, whether those cars will get sold or not. Those kind of questions, when those are the angles which are pursued by the interviewer, you want to do the market sizing from supply side. The other thing is that you actually can use supply side estimation along with demand side estimation sometimes, just to triangulate, because in certain cases it's possible to do it from both the sides. In that case, you should be basically telling the interviewer that, okay, so there are two ways in which I can do it. And from demand side, the approach is this, yeah, which will, let's say, will come to X. And on supply side, the approach is this, yeah, it will give us Y. So we'll have to see whether X and Y are in their ballpark. So there's a triangulation approach as well, similar to what people do when they are using bottom-up and top-down estimation. Yeah, so you can use both as well whenever it is possible.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Cool. Then I think we're done with the questions. So yeah, let's basically proceed to our bonus materials. So thank you very much for all those who stayed with us. And Polina, would you like to spread the bonuses?
Sure. First of all, I would like to say good job, Omar. Good luck with all your improvements in the future. For all of you who stayed with us this long, we have some goodies to share. But first of all, I would ask you to fill in the satisfaction survey. The link could be found in our Zoom chat. Please do it so we can improve our webinars and make them better, and next time cover something which is very important for you. Speaking about bonus materials, after this webinar, you will receive a presentation and a video recording, of course. So if you didn't catch something, didn't get something, you will be able to rewatch it. And also right now you are able to book a free consultation with our client managers who will help you to discuss your current situation and decide what should your next steps be. So let me actually give you some announcements. The first one, so our next webinar, actually that will be the last webinar in this month, will take place on 28th of April. And we will cover Bain final round interview simulation. So please, all of you are extremely welcome there. And also we are ready to announce the webinars for the next month. So there will be 4 of them, each for, so 1 for each week. And we will cover McKinsey and BCG case interviews on different levels. So please, also, all of you are very, very extremely welcome there as well. For today, I think we are done. I want to wish you, all of you, good evening, great evening, and also remind you that you can follow us on our social media, where you can find all of the relevant information, all of the useful information, all of the interesting information. So find us there. Good evening, and oh, sorry, good evening. Yes, have a good evening, and we'll see you next time, hopefully.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us. Please use the opportunity and book the first call with our client managers to get the process really running. So use the links, and we look towards actually seeing you in our future webinars. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you. And on behalf of the entire team, I would like to especially thank Omar for being our candidate tonight. I would like to say thank you to Gaurav for being the interviewer, to Polina for being the moderator tonight, and to the entire back office team behind this webinar for making this happen. And of course, thank you, big thanks to every one of you, to Ahmed, to Thomas, to Oliver, to Vaishnavi, to Vivek, to Helen, to Lakshya, to Edward, to Yona, to Mello, to Omair, to Mattia, to Pedro, to Tony, to Alina, to Franklin, to Danny, to Kunal, to Wu, to Vicky, and all other guys for being with us today. It's a great pleasure to have you here. Have a great evening, and let's keep in touch. Bye-bye.